good and evil. Seems obvious, right? Help the weak, punish the cruel, protect the innocent. But who decided that helping the weak is good? Why is that the measure? Could there be a society where strength is the virtue and pity is the vice? What if good itself is just someone's opinion that won? We say morality is universal, objective, written into the fabric of reality. But is it? Nietzsche's answer is more disturbing than you think. It's not that morality is subjective. It's that our good is a specific historical invention, and he can tell you exactly who invented it and why. The reason has nothing to do with God or reason or human nature. It's about what happened when the powerless found a weapon. Let's start with what everyone believes. Good and evil are opposites. Good means compassion, humility, selflessness, caring for others. Evil means cruelty, pride, selfishness, domination. Seems obvious, but ask yourself, why is compassion good? The common answer is because it helps people. Okay, but why is helping people good? Because, well, it just is. You see the problem? We're moving in circles. There's no foundation here, just assertions stacked on assertions. Everyone treats good and evil like cosmic laws, but when you push on them, they collapse into, that's just how things are, which isn't an answer. It's a refusal to answer. Let's try something sharper. Forget philosophy for a moment. Ask history. Where did these words even come from? Good in ancient societies didn't mean what we think it means today. The Romans used bonus. It meant noble, powerful, high-born, strong. The Greeks used agathos, excellent, aristocratic, warrior-like. The Germanic tribes used gut, well-born, privileged. Notice what's missing. Nothing about kindness. Nothing about helping the poor. Good meant powerful, healthy, life-affirming, successful. Bad meant weak, common, low, slave-like. The qualities we call good today, humility, meekness, compassion, those were called weak. They were the characteristics of slaves, not virtues. So what happened? When did the meanings flip completely? Here's where it gets strange. Nietzsche's answer. The powerless invented a new morality. Think about the historical moment. Ancient Judea under Roman occupation. You're conquered, enslaved, powerless. The Romans have all the virtues you can't have. Strength, beauty, power, pride. What do? You can't beat them physically. The legions are too strong. But you can beat them. Morally. You declare, actually our qualities are the good ones. Watch how the inversion works. Their pride, rebranded as sinful arrogance. Our weakness, rebranded as blessed humility. Their strength, rebranded as brutality. Our suffering, rebranded as noble sacrifice. Their joy in life, rebranded as wickedness. Our resentment, rebranded as righteousness. This is what Nietzsche calls ressentiment, creative revenge. The powerless couldn't win with swords, so they won with values. Well, not exactly won. They convinced everyone, including the powerful, that the new values were true, that they came from the universe itself. And it worked. Spectacularly. Christianity spreads this slave morality across the entire Roman Empire. The meek shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Turn the other cheek. Every virtue is now flipped from what the Romans originally thought. And here's the genius of it. They claimed it came from God. Not from resentment, not from the powerless scheming, from the creator of the universe himself. The slaves didn't just invent new values. They convinced the masters those values were cosmic truth. Look at how quickly Roman aristocrats converted. Within 300 years, the empire that crucified Christians made Christianity the state religion. Why? Because slave morality is weaponized guilt. You're strong? That's pride. You'll burn forever. You're wealthy? Easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for you to enter heaven. You're damned. You enjoy life? Sinful. Repent? or suffer. The powerful internalized the morality of the powerless. They accepted their own guilt. But Nietzsche asks, what did we lose? The old aristocratic morality wasn't about rules, it wasn't about thou shalt nots, it was about excellence, not what helps the weak, but what elevates the strong. Think about what master morality valued: courage in battle, artistic creation, intellectual achievement, physical beauty and health, joy, laughter, dancing, self-overcoming, pushing your limits, becoming more than you are. These weren't sins, they were ideals. The Homeric hero charging into battle, the Roman patrician building civilization, the Renaissance artist creating beauty. When slave morality won, we lost the celebration of life affirmation. We lost the permission to strive for greatness without guilt. And here's Nietzsche's provocation. Sit with this. What if compassion for the weak makes humanity weaker? If we breed for helplessness, rewarding suffering, making suffering itself virtuous, do we accidentally select against health, strength, vitality? If the highest good is to suffer nobly, what happens to those who don't suffer? Are they now morally inferior because they're strong? I know. Sounds cruel. But sit with it. Nietzsche isn't saying, be cruel. He's asking, what happens when we make suffering the highest good? When victimhood becomes moral currency? When we value people not for what they create, but for what they endure? Look at what became holy in Christianity: monasticism, flagellation, denial of the body, self-torture. The highest Christian saints, the ones who suffered most, the martyrs, the ascetics, the ones who rejected life most completely. That's what we elevated. That's what we said God wanted. So is Nietzsche saying we should become monsters? Go back to might makes right? Wrong. He's not saying go back to master morality. He's saying go beyond both. Beyond master morality, which is simple and unreflective, just the strong celebrating themselves. Beyond slave morality, which is reactive and resentful, the weak taking revenge through guilt. To what? What's beyond good and evil? Nietzsche's answer: creating your own values, not accepting them from God, from society, from tradition, from guilt. Becoming what he calls the Übermensch, the overman, the self-overcoming human. 3 characteristics define this. First, life-affirming. You say yes to existence, including its suffering. You don't resent reality for being hard. Second, value-creating. You don't follow values, you create them. Third, self-overcoming. You're constantly transcending your current self, becoming what you're capable of becoming. It's not do whatever you want. That's just nihilism wearing a mask. It's take responsibility for becoming who you are. An artist doesn't follow rules of good art from a textbook. They create new aesthetics. They break old forms to make new ones. A philosopher doesn't accept old truths from tradition. They forge new concepts. Not anything goes. But you are responsible for the values you live by, and you can't blame God or nature or society when you fail. You chose, you created, you lived by what you made. This is terrifying to most people, and here's the uncomfortable part. Most people can't do this. Most people need slave morality. It protects them from chaos, gives them structure, tells them what to do. Nietzsche isn't democratic about this. He thinks value creation is for the few. The rest need their good and evil. But here's what should unsettle you. When you defend good and evil, ask yourself, why? Is it because they're true, or because they comfort you? When you feel moral outrage, is that righteousness? Or is it resentment dressed up as justice? When you claim victimhood, is that honesty? Or is it a power move? Nietzsche forces you to examine your own motives. Every time you say that's wrong, ask according to whom? Every time you say I'm a good person, ask by what measure? And who created that measure? And why did they create it? What were they trying to accomplish? This doesn't mean nothing matters. It means You have to choose what matters, without God as backup, without universal morality as a safety net. You're alone with your values, and you have to live by them, justify them, take responsibility for them. This terrifies people. That's why they cling to good and evil, because the alternative, that you're responsible for creating meaning in a meaningless universe, is too much weight to bear. Here's proof from modern psychology. We punish moral violations more harshly than we punish practical harms. Why? Because morality is tribal membership. It's how we know who's in the group and who's out. Betray the tribe's values, you're cast out. Good and evil are social weapons, not cosmic truths. They're enforcement mechanisms for group cohesion. So, what do? Nietzsche doesn't give you a system. He gives you a challenge. Are you strong enough to create values instead of receiving them? Most people answer, no. And that's fine. Keep your good and evil. But if you're honest, truly honest, you'll start noticing things. Your morality often serves your interests. Your compassion often masks contempt for those you're helping. Your humility often hides an enormous pride in being humble. Your righteousness often comes from resentment toward those who have what you don't. We pretend slave morality is universal love. It's not. It's refined revenge. It's the powerless claiming moral authority because they're powerless. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Watch someone claim moral superiority for being oppressed. That's not humility. That's the slave revolt in morality happening right in front of you. Or watch someone tear down excellence in the name of equity. Same mechanism. The powerless claiming moral authority. Because they're powerless, then using that authority to attack the strong, the successful, the capable. Is that love? Is that justice? Or is it something else? Something that looks suspiciously like Nietzsche's resentment. The slaves rebranding their weakness as virtue, then using that virtue to guilt the strong into submission. Look, I'm not saying he's right about everything. But once you see the pattern, you see it everywhere. Which brings us back to the beginning. Good and evil aren't cosmic truths. They're historical accidents, the result of one group overpowering another with values instead of swords. And we inherited those values. We didn't choose them. We didn't examine them. We just absorbed them, baptized them as obvious, and stopped asking why. But Nietzsche asks, relentlessly, not to be cruel, to be free. Free from guilt weaponized by the resentful, free from values that diminish life instead of celebrating it. Free to become who you actually are, not who slave morality tells you to be. Does this mean Nietzsche was right about everything? No. He was catastrophically wrong about some things. His ideas were twisted by the Nazis into something he would have despised. His philosophy can be dangerous in the wrong hands. But his central question stands, unavoidable. Who invented your values and what were they trying to accomplish? If you can't answer that, you don't have values. You have programming, someone else's code running in your head. And you're not free. You're just executing their instructions. So beyond good and evil? It's not chaos. It's not do whatever you want. It's responsibility. The responsibility to examine every value you hold and ask, is this mine, or did someone else put it there? And if it's not yours, if it's slave morality dressed up as universal truth, if it's resentment wearing the mask of righteousness, then what? Do you keep it anyway? Do you discard it? Do you transform it into something honest? That's your question now. Nietzsche won't answer it for you. He just forces you to ask it. Next question. If we're not bound by traditional morality, what prevents tyranny? What stops the strong from crushing the weak? Different question. I've got to stop somewhere.